Have you ever wondered who the man behind the tough guy persona on film is? Charles Bronson, who was synonymous with Hollywood action, had a life that was as complex and fascinating as his on-screen personality. Bronson's journey from the coal mines of Pennsylvania to the bright lights of Hollywood was nothing short of amazing. Let's journey back to the beginning of this renowned figure's incredible story to find out how he achieved this almost impossible feat, followed by a tragic life and end of Charles Bronson. Early life. Charles Dennis Buczynski, best known as Charles Bronson, the fierce and renowned actor. Born in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, as the 11th child of a big Roman Catholic family of Lithuanian descent, Bronson's childhood was far from glamorous. Growing up in the Allegheny Mountains coal region during the Great Depression, when hardship and poverty were daily companions. Walter Buczynski, Bronson's father, was a Lipka Tatar from Druskininkai in southern Lithuania. Mary Valinsky, who was born in the coal mining village of Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, had Lithuanian ancestors as well. Bronson grew up in a household where English was not the predominant language spoken. He communicated in Lithuanian, Russian, and Greek, as did many of his colleagues. It's no wonder that even as a soldier, his accent was so strong that his teammates mistook him for a foreigner. In a 1973 interview, Bronson stated that he didn't know his father very well. His contradictory emotions were on display as he pondered if his father's presence elicited love or anger. When Bronson was a child, he imagined himself hiding whenever his mother announced his father's return. When his father passed away in 1933, Bronson was forced to work in the coal mines at a young age. He began in the mining office and eventually moved into the mines, where he earned a pittance of $1 per ton of coal extracted. Bronson's childhood recollections were filled with stories of struggle and peril. Working double shifts for $1 a week, he and his brother went on dangerous chores like removing stumps between mines, where cave-ins were a continuous concern. Bronson's family was thrown into terrible poverty as a result of the Great Depression. Hunger was a constant companion, and Bronson vividly remembered moments when his family couldn't buy milk for his younger sister, instead feeding her steaming tea. Clothes were a luxury, and he had to wear his sister's dress to school on one occasion due to a shortage of proper apparel. Despite the odds, Bronson became the first member of his family to graduate from high school. The battle, however, persisted as he worked in coal mines until 1943, when he enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces during World War II. He was a Boeing B-29 Superfortress aerial gunner with the 61st Bombardment Squadron headquartered in Guam after serving in the Flexible Gunnery Training Squadron. Bronson flew 25 missions with incredible bravery and determination, earning him a Purple Heart for battle wounds. Charles Bronson's journey from coal miner in Pennsylvania to decorated war hero created the groundwork for the toughness and perseverance he would later bring to the silver screen. Early career. When Charles Bronson was navigating the post-war world, he got himself painting scenery for a theatrical troupe in Philadelphia after doing odd jobs. He had no idea that this seemingly insignificant activity would serve as the starting point for his acting career. Soon after, he made the courageous move to New York City, where he shared an apartment with Jack Klugman, both of whom were budding actors at the time. The Big Apple was only a prelude to the main adventure, which awaited in Hollywood. Bronson chose the Pasadena Playhouse to hone his acting skills, enrolling in acting workshops that would pave the road for his future on the big screen. Bronson, then known as Charles Buczynski, began his film career in the early 1950s. His first credited part was as a sailor in You're in the Navy Now. From there, he appeared in films such as The Mob and The People Against O'Hara, demonstrating his flexibility in a variety of roles. Bronson's filmography grew as the years passed. In 1952, he appeared in many films including Bloodhounds of Broadway, Battle Zone, and My Six Convicts. His talents were also showcased on television, with appearances on shows such as The Red Skelton Show and Biff Baker, USA. In 1955, Bronson's career took off with appearances in films such as Target Zero, Big House, USA, and Jubal. Television beckoned as well, with a main role in an episode of the anthology drama series DuPont Cavalcade Theater. In the mid-1950s, Bronson appeared in Sam Fuller's Run of the Arrow and on Alfred Hitchcock Presents. By 1957, he had landed parts in Western series such as Colt 45 and The Sheriff of Cochise. His versatility was on display as he appeared as a guest star in shows ranging from Have Gun, Will Travel, to the short-lived sitcom Hey Jeannie. Bronson played real-life gangster Machine Gun Kelly in Roger Corman's biopic Machine Gun Kelly in 1958. The film drew plaudits for Bronson's performance, marking a watershed moment in his career. Shortly after, he played the lead in Showdown at Boot Hill and Gang War, demonstrating his versatility. Change of name. In the beginning, we called him Charles Bukinski. So where did Bronson come from? The choice to alter Charles Bronson's surname from Bukinski to Bronson in 1954 represented a key moment in his film career, fueled by the political and social milieu of the period. During the 1950s, the actor faced a Hollywood environment dominated by the House Un-American Activities Committee hearings and Senator Joe McCarthy's communist witch hunt. Charles Bukinski had already established himself in the early stages of his cinematic career, with roles in notable films such as You're in the Navy Now and House of Wax, where he played the famous character Igor alongside Vincent Price. Individuals with Eastern European surnames became vulnerable to scrutiny and potential career hazards as anti-communist fervor grew in the United States, notably in the entertainment business. Changing their name was typical during this time period, as many in the entertainment sector attempted to remove themselves from communist associations. In the instance of Charles Bronson, the name change from Bukinski to Bronson was suggested by his agent as a strategic maneuver. He hoped that by using a name that sounded less Eastern European, he would be able to offset any negative consequences and protect his career in the face of political suspicions. The transition from Charles Bukinski to Charles Bronson was a realistic response to the current political context. The fear of communist infiltration had a strong influence on Hollywood, and people felt forced to take precautions to protect their careers and reputations. Changing one's name became a symbolic act of self-preservation and a way to avoid being blacklisted or discriminated against. Bronson's decision to change his name had no effect on his talent or career direction. Indeed, it enabled him to continue chasing jobs and establishing himself as a versatile actor in a variety of genres. European breakthrough. Let's travel back to the 1960s when Charles Bronson's career was poised to take off. In 1959, he received a supporting role in John Sturgis's military drama, Never So Few. As the film industry welcomed him, television did as well, with appearances in the Yancey Derringer episode Hell and High Water and the series U.S. Marshal. Bronson's participation in John Sturgis's The Magnificent Seven in 1960 represented a landmark in his career. He played one of 7 gunfighters who defended the defenseless. Despite his off-screen loneliness, his on-screen charisma was fascinating. Although the picture was initially a box office disaster in the United States, it quickly became a European sensation, eventually turning a profit. In 2013, the Library of Congress recognized its cultural significance by inducting it into the National Film Registry. Bronson continued to expand his work in 1961. He acted in films such as Master of the World, A Thunder of Drums, and X-15. On television, he demonstrated his flexibility in episodes of One Step Beyond and Twilight Zone, and he received an Emmy nod for his appearance in CBS's General Electric Theater. Bronson first appeared in the Elvis Presley film Kid Galahad in 1962, paving the way for his participation in the legendary film The Great Escape in 1963. The film, directed by John Sturgis, featured an ensemble cast of World War II prisoners of war. Its critical acclaim, box office triumph, and Golden Globe nominations cemented its position in cinema history. The same year, Bronson played a villain in Robert Aldrich's Four for Texas. Television remained an important venue for him, as he co-starred in Empire and contributed to the ABC Western series The Travels of Jamie McFeeters. As the mid-1960s approached, Bronson's filmography grew with the release of Guns of Diablo in 1965, based on the television series The Travels of Jamie McFeeters. He was also in the war film Battle of the Bulge. By 1968, Charles Bronson had established himself in European films, beginning with Adieu l'ami with Alain Delon. This marked the start of a string of European triumphs, demonstrating that character triumphs over a lovely face. U.S. breakthrough. Bronson debuted in French cinema in the 1971, displaying his versatility in René Clément's exhilarating masterwork, Rider on the Rain. He played a gruff American colonel in this film, gaining him acclaim and making the picture a phenomenon in France. Notably, it won a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film, with Wanda Hale of the New York Daily News calling Bronson marvelous. During his skyrocketing career, rumors circulated in June that Bronson was being considered for the main role in Papillon. The foreign flavor continued in 1971, when Bronson appeared in Nicholas Gessner's French thriller Someone Behind the Door, alongside the great Anthony Perkins. He also made an impression in the French-Spanish-Italian Western Red Sun. Terence Young directed The Valachi Papers in 1972, with Bronson playing the fearsome Joseph Valachi. His renown spanned the globe, garnering him a prestigious Golden Globe Henrietta Award for World Film Favorite Male, a distinction he shared with the legendary Sean Connery. In 1972, Bronson's cooperation with director Michael Winner launched a remarkable series of action films for United Artists. The trip began with Chatto's Land, which paved the way for future hits such as The Mechanic. These flicks cemented Bronson's place in action cinema history. Charles Bronson had risen to the top of the film industry by 1973, commanding an astonishing $1 million per feature. His star power was unparalleled. The next year, he collaborated with director John Sturges on Chino, adding another feather to his cap. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers considered him for the main role in Robert Aldrich's The Yakuza, but the part eventually went to Robert Mitchum. The publication of Death Wish, a collaboration between Bronson and filmmaker Michael Winner, in 1974, marked another milestone. At the age of 52, Bronson played Paul Kersey, a New York architect who became a vigilante after a terrible attack on his family. The picture connected with moviegoers and became Bronson's magnum work, grossing $22 million at the box office that year. Despite some critics calling it an immoral threat to society, the picture cemented Bronson's position as an action cinema hero. Action film star. In 1975, Charles Bronson captivated viewers again with two films directed by Tom Grease, Breakout and Breakheart Pass, a Western based on an Alistair MacLean novel, but the latter was a box office flop. That same year, Bronson made his directing debut with Walter Hill's Hard Times. He portrayed a street fighter making a living in illegal bare-knuckled contests in Louisiana during the Depression era. The picture received excellent reviews and finished the year as the 29th highest-grossing film in the United States. Critic Roger Ebert praised it as a powerful, brutal film containing a definitive Charles Bronson performance. Bronson's star power peaked in 1975 when he was ranked fourth in box office drawing power, after only Robert Redford, Barbra Streisand, and Al Pacino. The next year, Bronson dabbled in Western comedy with From Noon Till 3 and worked with director J. Lee Thompson. Bronson turned down an opportunity to work with famed director Ingmar Bergman in the 1970s because he found his films boring. In addition, he tried out for the role of Superman in the 1978 film adaptation, but was rejected because he was too earthy. In 1978, he was considered for the lead role in Capricorn 1, and for the 1981 picture Escape from New York. The studio wanted him to play Snake Plissken, but director John Carpenter thought he was too rough and too elderly for the job. Bronson's successful career continued with pictures for ITC, including Love and Bullets and Borderline. He reunited with J. Lee Thompson for Cabo Blanco and co-starred with Lee Marvin in Death Hunt. Between 1976 and 1994, Bronson was paid well for his roles in a number of films produced by smaller production firms, most notably Cannon Films. Cannon offered him $1.5 million to star in Death Wish 2, directed by Michael Winner, in 1982, which was a box office hit. Bronson continued to work with Cannon Films, who hired him for 10 to Midnight and The Evil That Men Do. His collaboration with director J. Lee Thompson continued with Murphy's Law, in which he played a toughened LAPD detective confronted with unforeseen circumstances. Now, to bring you our subscribers' pick, we have a story that highlights the tragic life and end of Charles Bronson and how he was misunderstood at times. The 1963 film The Great Escape featured a stunning ensemble cast that included Hollywood superstars such as Steve McQueen, James Garner, Charles Bronson, and Richard Attenborough. While the film is remembered for depicting Allied soldiers trying a daring escape from a German prisoner of war camp during World War II, not all was well behind the scenes. In his 2011 memoirs, The Garner Files, James Garner revealed personal details about his relationships with co-stars, offering light on the dynamics on and off the set. Garner's views on Charles Bronson, on the other hand, drew notice for their harsh criticism. Garner did not mince words in his memoir while expressing his emotions towards Bronson. He called Bronson a bitter, belligerent SOB. According to Garner's recollection, Bronson was a difficult co-star whose behavior on set was far from cordial. According to Garner, the friction between him and Bronson went beyond the production of the film. He recalled Bronson participating in a poker game at Garner's house a year after filming The Great Escape. The argument developed when Bronson attempted to withdraw a stake too late in the game, resulting in a clash between the two actors. Garner, known for his forthright demeanor, demanded that Bronson pay up, which irritated the iconic action star. Bronson allegedly stated that he would never work with Garner again, citing the actor's outspoken personality. Garner wrote in his memoir about meeting Bronson and his wife, Jill Ireland, at a restaurant a few years later. Despite their previous disagreements, the four of them ended up enjoying supper together, creating an apparent nice atmosphere. However, Garner implied that Bronson might still be holding a grudge, admitting that he, too, had not completely let go of the past difficulties. While The Great Escape remains a classic, Garner's memories of the behind-the-scenes dynamics highlight the intricate interpersonal dynamics that molded the cast's experiences during and after the production. What are your views on Charles Bronson's mysterious personality? Let us know in the comments below. Character and personality. Let's talk about Charles Bronson's personality, which was a complicated record woven with strands of shyness, introversion, and a tough demeanor that hid the scars of early adversity, as well as the obstacles he encountered as an actor. Bronson appears as a figure still coping with the bizarre nature of his stardom in a fascinating 1973 newspaper story. Despite his success, he is nevertheless veiled in suspicion, harboring grudges and disdaining interviews. A guy of few words, he finds seeing his own films difficult, revealing a fragility that contrasts strongly with the stern, stoic roles he portrayed on screen. The resentment he feels as a result of his delayed recognition in the United States persists within him, adding layers to his persona. Even after rising to success, Bronson refuses to work with a filmmaker who once passed him over, a testament to a difficult journey and a resolve that does not dissipate quickly. In 1974, renowned critic Roger Ebert provided insight into Bronson's mysterious nature. The actor does not provide information or elaborate on theories regarding his movie. Instead, he retains an air of mystery, perplexing critics and enthralling crowds. Bronson's ferocity isn't limited to the film. Ebert recalls an encounter in which the actor appeared truly aggressive in response to what he viewed as a personal attack. As we peel back the layers of Bronson's personality, we discover a man who defies Hollywood conventions. He does not conform to interview standards or willingly disclose himself. The scars of early adversity and hard-won accomplishment combine to create an intriguing and genuine demeanor. Relationship struggles. Charles's first marriage was to Harriet Tendler, a connection forged in the crucible of Philadelphia's fledgling performing careers. When an 18-year-old Tendler met a 26-year-old Charlie Bukinski in 1947, the odds were stacked against them. She was the daughter of a Jewish dairy farmer, while he was a Catholic and a former coal miner. Tendler began their adventure by assisting both of them in pursuing their aspirations. On their first date, Bronson had only 4 cents in his pocket, a low starting point for a man who would go on to become one of the country's highest-paid actors. The couple divorced in 1965 after having 2 children, Suzanne and Tony. Despite the difficulties, their story parallels the early trials and tribulations that defined Bronson's path from coal miner's son to Hollywood icon. Bronson's second love story began with English actress Jill Ireland. They had a life filled with love and cinematic collaborations from October 5, 1968, until Jill's demise in 1990. Their Bel Air residence became a hub for a blended family, which included 2 children from Bronson's previous marriage, 3 from Ireland, 1 adopted child, and 2 of their own. To keep the family close, they went on travels together, packing everyone so that they could be present wherever the filming took them. The Bronson family cherished a life that melded work and togetherness, whether in a colonial farmhouse in Vermont or on winter vacations in Snowmass, Colorado. Jill Ireland, Bronson's on-screen and off-screen leading lady, fought breast cancer for years. She passed away of cancer on May 18, 1990 at the age of 54 at their Malibu home. Her demise signaled the end of an era in Bronson's life and a heartbreaking chapter in their enduring love story. The television movie Reason for Living: The Jill Ireland Story immortalized their adventure in 1991, with actor Lance Henriksen playing Charles Bronson. Life, however, moved on, and in December 1998, Bronson embarked on a new chapter of companionship. He married Kim Weeks, an actress and former Dove Audio employee, in his 3rd and final marriage. Did he help Clint Eastwood? Charles Bronson was instrumental in beginning the career of another Hollywood legend, Clint Eastwood, although in an indirect way. This bond stems from the famed Italian director Sergio Leone's early respect for Bronson's stern and strong character. Leone, best renowned for his legendary spaghetti westerns, was a fan of Charles Bronson from an early age and saw in him the ability to embody the gritty characters that littered his films. When Leone set out to make A Fistful of Dollars, the first film in the Dollars trilogy and the first appearance of the renowned Man with No Name, he envisioned Bronson in the major role. However, Bronson declined the offer because he was displeased with the writing. Leone was undeterred in his pursuit of Charles Bronson. Recognizing Bronson's on-screen presence and ferocity in his parts, the director was determined to work with him. Despite the initial rejection, Leone discovered a different road to success. When the lead character in A Fistful of Dollars became available as a result of Bronson's rejection, Leone selected Clint Eastwood instead, a choice that would prove pivotal in Eastwood's career. Clint Eastwood's portrayal of Leone's character, Man with No Name, launched him as an international celebrity and cemented his place as an iconic figure in the Western genre. Bronson's first denial unintentionally opened the way for Eastwood, and the Dollars trilogy became a climax in Eastwood's filmography. Bronson and Leone's friendship did not end with the rejection of A Fistful of Dollars. Leone, who had long admired Bronson's skill, eventually cast him as the vicious mercenary Angel Eyes in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. However, due to his commitment to The Dirty Dozen, Bronson had to turn down the offer. Lee Van Cleef was eventually cast in the part, and he delivered an outstanding performance. Despite these early setbacks, Charles Bronson and Sergio Leone eventually collaborated on a cinematic masterpiece. As a ghostly harmonica-playing gunfighter in Once Upon a Time in the West, Bronson gave one of his most unforgettable performances. The epic Western, shot in Leone's unique way, displayed Bronson's versatility and added to his status as an actor. The complicated web of links between Hollywood superstars, such as Bronson, Eastwood, and Leone, shows the collaborative and, at times, coincidental character of the film industry. Retirement. A strange twist of destiny occurred in the early 1990s when Bronson turned down the role of Curly Washburn in City Slickers. A decision that not only transformed the cinematic world, but also opened the road for future endeavors. Bronson appeared in The Indian Runner, directed by Sean Penn and starring David Morse and Viggo Mortensen in 1991. Critics praised Bronson's performance, praising him for his quiet, sure power that exceeded expectations. Following a string of vengeance thrillers, Bronson demonstrated his acting abilities, leaving an unforgettable stamp on the film. The same year, Bronson appeared in ABC's TV movie adaptation of Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus. The holiday drama, directed by Charles Jarrett, put Bronson against his type as a reporter entrusted with replying to a young girl's letter. The Hollywood Reporter's Linda Renault applauded Bronson's excellent portrayal of a heartbroken newspaperman, highlighting his flexibility. The next year, Bronson played the adversary in Michael Anderson's television picture, The Seawolf, alongside Christopher Reeve. Bronson embraced a thinking man's heavy role as a villain with reservations, startling fans and critics alike. The Los Angeles Times' Ray Lloyd noted Bronson's ease in the character, which marked a break from his normal on-screen persona. In 1994, Bronson had his final major part in a theatrically released picture, Death Wish, The Face of Death. The picture signaled the end of an era in cinema, with Bronson leaving an everlasting impression on the legendary Death Wish franchise. From 1995 to 1990, Bronson starred in 3 TV films as Commissioner Paul Fine, the patriarch of a law enforcement family. As the late 1990s progressed, Bronson had health issues that forced him to retire from acting after hip replacement surgery in August 1998. The curtain came down on a tremendous career spanning decades, leaving an indelible impression on the world of cinema. Charles Bronson, an actor of quiet force, various parts, and an unbreakable spirit, has left a tapestry of performances that will be remembered for centuries to come. Demise. Let's look at the final chapter of Charles Bronson's life, which ended on August 30th, 2003, at the age of 81. The reverberations of his influential career, as well as the circumstances surrounding his death, shed light on the man behind the legendary on-screen image. Bronson passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, leaving behind a legacy that will live on in film history. The circumstances surrounding his death have prompted speculation. While pneumonia and Alzheimer's illness have been proposed as causes, his death certificate reflects a more detailed story. It blames respiratory failure, metastatic lung cancer, and secondly, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and congestive cardiomyopathy. Bronson's departure was complicated because he was a guy of many facets. His ultimate burial site is in Brownsville Cemetery in West Windsor, Vermont, a peaceful spot where the chapters of his life were completed. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is a permanent reminder of the deep imprint he left on the cinema business. Film reviewer Stephen Hunter nailed the core of Bronson's movie presence and style. He described Bronson as oozed male life force, stoic toughness, capability, and strength. The charm of ambiguity surrounded him. Was he an ugly, attractive man or a handsome, ugly man? A puzzle that necessitated additional investigation. While Bronson may not have been a brilliant actor, he perfected the art of silent domination, according to Hunter. His presence said a lot, a silent power that characterized every scene he was in. In an honest interview with critic Roger Ebert in 1974, Bronson compared himself to a product, a commodity to be sold like a soap cake. Dialogue took a back seat in his action-packed blockbusters. He provided a presence. A character had to be developed from the start, ready to enter into the story without the need for lengthy dialogue scenes. Bronson's statements were pragmatic, emphasizing his function as a cinematic presence. Michael Winner, the director, put light on Bronson's distinct appeal. He claimed that Bronson didn't require detailed explanations about his technique because the camera responded to an intrinsic quality in him. Bronson emanated strength, depth, and mystery, even in quiet or passive performances. There was a sense that something major was about to happen, which was a credit to the mystique he brought to the screen. The enigmatic aura that Charles Bronson portrayed throughout his career lasted beyond his death, producing an enduring legacy that continues to enchant audiences and inspire generations of actors who follow in his footsteps. The man with a name that ends in a vowel, the stoic force of the silver screen, may have left us, but his stamp lives on. A timeless reminder of the charisma, strength, and quiet dignity that defined Charles Bronson. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.